Recording. Mohammad, the floor is yours.
Hello, just bear with me. Let me share my screen and then we can move forward. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Tech Talk. Thank you, Tech Talk YVR, for setting up everything and organizing the event. This is a pleasure to talk about the topic of life resume in front of these amazing people. I hope the talk is useful for you. The way that I like to drive this presentation is kind of an interactive presentation that we can interact with each other. Feel free to stop me anytime during the presentation. This is not a classroom. You are not a student. I'm not professor. So feel free to interrupt me whenever you want. And hopefully we can have an interactive and exciting presentation all together. And based on the timeline of this Tech Talk, we have rooms for questions and answers at the end of the talk. Right? Feel free to interrupt me during the talk. So today we are all here to talk about life resume, to see what does that mean and how we can have a different vision towards life, that we can enjoy life, we can get experience in life, and we can try to make each single moment of our life more valuable. So before going to the main topic of the talk, I just want to give you an introduction about who I am, that you can understand me better in the next slides. My personality is that I always look at life as an infinite set of question marks that I should go and find the answers of them, or a set of items that I have to check mark them whenever I accomplish them, whenever I finish them. I'm currently working at Microsoft for 5 years. Before that, I was working in different companies in Vancouver. And the reason that I decided to join Microsoft 5 years ago was because I wanted to have a better work resume. So on that time, I decided to find a good company that can meet my expectations in terms of company growth, in terms of compensation, in terms of the product that I can do, and even in terms of the being proud of working for that business, to label myself as an employee of that business. In addition to Microsoft that I'm working for around 5 years, I also ran my startup in 2014 when I graduated from the University of Calgary, and I got my master's there. And the main reason of running a startup was that I can say maybe from my bachelor studies, I always had a mindset that why am I afraid of running a startup by my own? What are the barriers for me which prevents me to do that on that age? So finally, in 2014, I was looking at my experience, my past life, and my academic and industrial resume, and I was thinking that why not experiencing registering a company and making a team and having my own startup? It has pros and cons. It needs some requirements to, for example, devote your life, maybe spending some, or maybe chipping some cash into it and so on. But at least let's try it. And I talked with a couple of businessmen and businesswomen to get their feedback on doing that. All of them, they believe that running your own startup means that you will ruin your life if you want it to be successful. So I decided to run my startup named EventYab in 2014. I started with a team of 5. It increased to a team of 7, 8. And for 7 years, I'm having that as startup. That's not my full-time job, but that's kind of a side project which turned to be a successful business. While I was busy with these two businesses, I was thinking that people approach me for contract-based projects or some consultations. I was thinking that, okay, with the bandwidth that I have in my life, spending 8 hours on my full-time job, spending 2 or 3 hours per day, or maybe less, 1 hour per day for EventYab business, I still have some spare time that I can try to achieve something by doing those projects. So far, I was thinking that, okay, let's consider Microsoft as a company that I can be proud of, I can pay my bills, and I can get mortgage. Let's have EventYab as a company that I can get the title of CEO, I can experience team management, I can experience dealing with angry customers, and I can learn the materials and the topics that I've never had an opportunity to learn them at school, or I've never had an opportunity to experience them at Microsoft or previous companies that they were my full-time jobs. So I was thinking, okay, let's not be afraid of those projects. I will get those projects, and I will try to distribute the projects to other people that they can do the work, and I can try to share my experience with them. I can let them grow. I can help them to make their career. So I started a new business, which was named Codeshake Solutions. I didn't want that business to be as big as EventYab. That's why if you search for the websites, there's no website. It's just a registered company under BC government. But that project, that business helped me to get side projects. Like, for example, if you want to Google, like Forte Living website, like Airbell app, which is an amazing and the biggest project that we got, which took 2 years to be released in App Store and iOS and Play Store, and also more projects. Something that I really loved in running Codeshake Solutions business was that I could be an entrepreneur for smart talents that they are living in Iran, or smart talents that they are at the universities in UBC and SFU here. Because the team is a combination of people in Iran and people, or better to say, students in SFU and UBC. So by these businesses, for each of them, I had different mindset. I had different goals to achieve. And based on the check marks that I had in my life, I could achieve all of them. Apart from the business side, from the work side of what I shared with you, I use my spare time to play sport activities like soccer. This is my soccer is not as good as being in Microsoft team, but this is a photo that I like to be in the team. I had just one goal in my life resume, that I should be part of Microsoft team, regardless of my skills, regardless of my talents to be a soccer player. I should try to make it done. So I try to find the connections. I try to prove myself. I try to show them that I'm eligible to be part of Microsoft team, to be a representative of Microsoft in the Vancouver Downtown League, that I can play as a team member. The photo below it's not my dishwasher, but this is similar to what we had. This is a bit funny. One day, or better to say one night, we were running out of dishwasher detergent. And I had a lot of dishes in the dishwasher. I was thinking that, okay, why should we always go with dishwasher detergent? Why shouldn't we go with a different type of soap that we can, for example, wash the dishes? I just was thinking to have a check mark in my resume that, okay, I experienced this and it failed or succeeded. Just to make long story short, that failed. And I used a different type of detergent, and my dishwasher just exploded with a lot of foam that took me busy by 2, 3 a.m. to just clean up the dishwasher. I'm a fan of traveling because I look at traveling as a check mark. For example, if I go to a city, I don't go to that city to visit all the 100 museums that city has. I just travel to that city to have a check mark in my life resume that I visited, for example, Vienna. I visited Victoria Island. I visited Nanaimo. I went to hiking, blah, blah, just to have a check mark in my life resume. Back to 4 years ago, I was thinking that, okay, my life was always full of study from, I can say, preliminary school, intermediate, high school, Sharif University, University of Calgary, and then go to work. I was thinking that, okay, I really love the sound of music instrument, which is named Santour, but I've never had experience or opportunity to learn it. Instead of considering barriers for this goal of mine, to say that, okay, I do not have a Santour, so let's skip it. Or there's no Santour instructor in Vancouver, so I don't have anyone to teach me, so let's ignore the plan and so on. I set a goal that, okay, let's set a goal that I can learn Santour and I can play something that I myself can enjoy, regardless of setting another goal that, okay, let's, for example, go on a stage after 1 year or after 2 years, or let's play in front of, I don't know, 1,000 people. Let's right, organize a concert and that I can play Santour on a stage. I set a smaller goal that, okay, I will learn Santour at the extent that I myself can enjoy what I play. Or if I really love a song, at least I can try to practice it by my own. Something to share with you that I will focus more in the next slide is that don't be afraid of your talents and your skills. Based on what researchers said, there are 34 types of intelligence for every person. If we call someone genius in mathematics, in physics, in communications, these are just a few types of skills that are very highlighted at schools or at the educational systems. A very close friend of mine, who is now very popular in social media, named Mojtaba Shakuri, better to say Dr. Mojtaba Shakuri. Sometimes I make a joke with him that he's like Hossein Panahi or like Dr. Shariati. At some point, all the sentences they were from these people. But now if you go to social media, you will see this face and his sentences for different talks that he has in different events. He believed that if you have a wish or if you have something on your mind that you never had an opportunity to focus on, try to speak up loudly about it. Don't be afraid of your wishes. Try to talk about them with different people. Try to see how you can make it happen, how you can accomplish them. So these are the things that I always had in my mind that, okay, if I have a wish, if I want to do something in the future, I should focus on that. I should think about it. I should see how I can make it happen, how I should plan for it. Apart from these, I also like to have an experience of gardening. I never have done that maybe back to 5 years ago. But 5 years ago, I was thinking, that, okay, this is a great experience. Let's have it in my life experience. I just watched a few YouTube videos. I tried to see, okay, what are the required tools? What are the what's the best season to do that? What seeds can grow in Vancouver and so forth. I tried a couple of seeds to plant. Some of them, they just fell. I tried to plant, I think, melon, watermelon, something that they've never grew up from the soil. But some of them, they were successful. And I had a check mark on my life resume that, okay, great. I could plant something or I could plant blah, blah in my garden and that summer, on that spring. Apart from these, I always love socializing with people, either in person or with phone call or online like today and so on. In each socializing, in each networking, I always try to learn. I'm not a good person to discuss. I usually don't argue with people. I always try to listen as much as I can. And if I want, sometimes if I just want to share my opinion, I don't want to emphasize on that. I just try to speak about something. If the person is needed to be convinced, I'm not the right person. I can just share my opinion and I respect everyone's opinion. So I told all of these to give you an understanding that you should not be afraid of your hopes, your wishes, and you should always try to make them happen. Turn them from your dream to reality and make them happening in your life. Again, think your life as some kind of items that you are going to check mark them. You are going to travel somewhere to check mark, and you are going to make that happen. I always try to look at life like a multidimensional environment. Again, these are just my personal dimensions that I touch. There are more, but these are just the samples that I brought up. I'm like you, I'm a human. I'm not someone, I don't know, exceptional that I can do everything. Definitely, there are many things that I cannot spend time on them or I cannot focus on them, or it's because I'm not interested in them. For example, politics, I'm not a political person. Or news, I usually, or better, I rarely check news websites. So these are the things that I really like to focus on, these dimensions. And for you, they can be different dimensions. Something that you should think of is your mindset. How do you look at how you look at your life? You know, life resume is not something like, for example, the work resume that you should just talk about your work. You should just talk about your industrial or academic achievements. It's not also like a student resume that you just talk about the courses that you passed, the trainings that you had, the papers that you, and so on. Life resume is something for yourself that you can be proud of your accomplishments. You can talk about them. You can share them with other people. The dishwasher, the dishwasher soap or dishwasher detergent story that I told you, that was something that it was a failure project, but at least it helped me to talk about it with a couple of groups, either for the purpose of joking, or for purpose of experiencing, or for something that I myself can be happy that, okay, I tried to do something unusual and it didn't work. At least I experienced it in my life. So you should think about what goals you have in your life and how you look at your life. You might look at your life as something pretty smooth, pretty relaxing. You just go to work, you just go home, watch a couple of Netflix, and then your day will be over, which is great. There's no complaint on that because you are happy, you are enjoying that moment of your life. But some people like me, we believe that every day for myself should be different from the other day. During COVID and pandemic, it was a horrible time for me because I have to stay at home. I'm an extrovert person. It was kind of depressing for me to not hang out with people, to spend my time in my home, and so on. But I tried to make myself busy with something else to just make a different day style for myself. The worst time for me was Christmas time, that I have to stay at home and I have to not work on Microsoft or anywhere else, but I have to make something practical for me. So I tried to, for example, change the crawler space of my home and do some decoration there. So I'm just trying to say something that you should keep it as based on your mindset, that how you can achieve your happiness by doing things, by defining problems and trying to solve problems. Let me show you another picture. At the first glance, this is a disgusting picture. This is Vancouver landfill. For you, it might be disgusting. For me, this is an amazing picture. I don't want to refer to the personality that you should be positive on every piece of shit that you see in your life. Just want to say that you should try to see what is your vision towards that moment. So in this picture, imagine that the day that I took this picture, my neighbor was going to Vancouver landfill to dump something, some of his renovation leftovers. I must have offered him that, is it possible if I accompany you? And he accepted. I knew where I'm going. He already gave me some warnings that that's not a nice place. It smells, it sucks. You might stand in line in the car for maybe 1 hour in an area that is smelling. And he already gave me a heads up of all of these. But when I went there, I was really surprised that, oh man, this is a unique or maybe once upon a time opportunity for me to be in Vancouver landfill. And that's a picture that I took on that moment, because when I took this picture, I had a check mark in my life resume that I visited Vancouver landfill. For example, I live in Iran for 25 years. I've never had an opportunity to be in Tehran landfill or I don't know, any other landfill which exists in Iran. But in Vancouver, I had this experience. So I told this story to narrow down to the point that I look at life as a set of experiences that I'm here to check. But the question is that how we can manage our time, how to, for example, experience different dimensions of life. The first point or the first consideration is regarding your self-awareness. What do you expect from life? What do you want from life? What characteristics do you have? Are you someone that you can take over a lot of work to do in different dimensions? You just try to accept work. By work, let's change work to something else. Let's change work to commitments. You accept commitments to give ride to someone to the airport, commitments to cook food for your kids, commitment. Does anyone have a question? Okay, sure. Yeah, you should think about your self-awareness. which of these pictures represent you in a better way? Or you're someone that you are a relaxed person, you are a couching person, you just want to have a normal, a regular life, go work or study, and then relax, stay at home, and try to spend daytime, and at night you will sleep again the next day, similar to the previous day, and so on. Or you're someone that you like to follow a hybrid approach. You like to, for example, take over a reasonable amount of work and have your relaxation time, try to learn, try to spend time for yourself with your friends, and so on. Self-awareness matters a lot. Mark Manson, in a book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving F, talks about different personalities, that how we can achieve our goals or how we can enjoy our life. He believes that in life, we should try to enjoy each single moment. And to enjoy the moments, we should try to find problems, or the problems that we receive, we should try to keep them in our archive and then try our best to solve problems. When we solve problems, we get happiness. We become happier and happier. He believed that majority of the people, they accept this lifestyle, that they find problems, they try to solve them just for the purpose of happiness. However, there are two other categories of people that they are not happy with their life because of these reasons. The first category are denial people. They always try to deny reality in their life. And they say, okay, if something is happening to me, so it's because life it is, this is reality. So the problem exists, that's right. I cannot do anything because this is reality. So those people, they do not struggle to solve problems. The problems exist, they are accumulated over time. They are not self-healed or auto-healed. And then the happiness in their life, they decreases. The other category of people that Mark mentions in his book are victim mentality people. Those are the people that they knew that there are problems in their life. They knew that if they solve problems, they will be happier in their life. But they try to blame others for the problems that they are not solved yet. They believe that the problems exist because of other people, because of other conditions. I can exemplify for you. Please don't take it personal. For example, I don't have PhD degree. For example, let's exemplify it. I don't want to get, for example, to go to PhD studies because of COVID. COVID is here, so universities are closed. Or another example, this is a great example for myself. At age of 10, 9-ish, I rejected my parents' request to go to orthodontist. It's because on that time I believe that I'm too busy, so I cannot go and fix my teeth. And now at age of 30-ish, I'm blaming myself that why didn't I do that on that time? So this is a category of victim mentality people that they do not solve problems and they bring excuses that, okay, this problem was not resolvable because of other people, because of other conditions and so forth. So self-awareness matters a lot in your life resume to know what characteristics you have and what personality you do. To know yourself more, there is a very popular and familiar test which is certified by psychologists, which is called 4-color personality test. If you Google it, you will find a couple of online tests that you can take and you will get the result. The result is not a very specific color. You will get, usually in the results that you get, you should get a result based on the primary result, secondary result. And this is like kind of a spectrum of the color of your personality. So in this test, there are the types of characteristics are in 4 colors or identified in 4 colors: orange, green, blue, and yellow. So the orange personality people, I just want to read the text here. The orange personality people, they're dominating people. They're very confident on whatever they do. They always accept competitions. For example, I want to finish my PhD degree in 3 years because my cousin finished it in 3 years, or because my colleague finished it in 3 years. They are persistent in their goal. They consider, for example, the life or their plans in their life as something persistent. Okay, that since we set this goal, we should keep pushing to make it happen. They are great problem solvers because they knew that, okay, in order to achieve this goal, we have to solve the problem by using this solution. They accept challenges, even at work, at teams that we have in Microsoft or EventYab or anywhere else. I can see these personalities that some people, they always accept challenges. There's a project coming in, nobody knows how to solve that problem or how to start that project. The requirements are not clearly defined. Communication is hard because the teams are not here and so on. But those category of people, they accept challenges that, okay, this is a nice project to do. They have different reasons behind this choice because they believe, okay, if we accept challenges, if we take over of a challenging project, it helps us to make our career, it helps us to grow in our career and so forth. Usually the orange category of people, they're impatient people. They want to make everything done on their plan with whatever solution that they have in mind. They might sacrifice their life, they might devote their life on making things happen, but they are not the kind of a people that they prefer to wait until something goes or until a response comes from someone and so forth. And also they are energetic people. So they always try to look at life in a way that, okay, the energy should come from someone. The blue category of people, they are perfectionist people. They believe that, okay, everything should be done with 100% precision and with no holes in the final or output results. They are very disciplined people, very well organized. They try to make plans, careful plans with nice milestones that, okay, this is a set of goals that we defined for the project. Let's turn it to a smaller goals and let's have a great milestone for each piece of the work that we are supposed to do here. And they're analytical people. They try to measure the work that they do and they try to always have analytics. And this category of people, the blue one, they also value relationships. They knew that, okay, by relationships, we can have a better moving forward in the project. These are just personality items that psychologists define for each category of the colors. So this is not my own defined, for example, metrics for each color. The green category of people, they are usually calm people that they try to listen more instead of trying to share their opinion. They are very logical people. They can be easily convinced and they are supportive for others. Like blue category of people, they also have precise plans for their work. And they are also willing to help other people. They are good listeners and they have a creative or innovative characteristics in the project that they take. The yellow category of people, they are a bit funnier in terms of other personality metrics. They are loudest people. They are always believe that they are lucky and they are happy in their life. There's nothing crazy that they haven't done so far. They always are willing to share their findings with others, their happiness with others. They are party people because they love networking. They love socializing with others. They are optimistic people. The reason that I'm talking about the yellow people in a more funnier way is because my personality was kind of yellow. That I'm a party lover, I'm optimistic, I'm horribly optimistic, and this is so bad. I'm optimistic in everything, in day-to-day life. I don't know, in cooking, in going parties, in timeline, in taking projects, even at Microsoft projects, I'm always labeled as an optimistic person. So whenever I estimate a project, my manager adds another week to that because he knows that I'm optimistic. And I just try to be optimistic because it gives me more energy. And if I, for example, estimate a project for myself, not for end user or customer, if I estimate a project that, okay, this project takes 2 weeks to do, and the project needs, for example, 4 weeks, it helps me to struggle to make the project in 2 weeks. And if I have more time after that, it makes me happier that I can make the project in 4 weeks. This category of people, they like to help others. They're supportive people, and they're also organized people. So my ask from you is that let's just stop at this point. Think about this personality test, and based on the metrics that I mentioned for each color, let's see which personality you have. I highly encourage you to take the test after this presentation, at least to understand yourself more. See which color is your primary color, which one is your secondary color, and try to understand yourself in a better way that you can set your goals and you can try to make your life resume in a more chocolate coated way. Moving forward, the time breakdown, this is something that I always talk with my friends, that when they say that I'm too busy, I cannot, for example, come to a party, or I'm too busy, I couldn't, for example, join this talk, or I'm busy, I was not able to do blah, blah. Sometimes I try to talk with them and say, okay, break down your timeline, your day-to-day timeline or your weekend timeline to me to see how I can help you to find some gaps or some bandwidth here. This is a breakdown that I have. This is just my breakdown. I know that in your life, there might be different metrics or different businesses going on, but this is something that I try to find the numbers by my own and try to adjust them based on the online sources that I found. So usually we spend 8 to 11 hours for our work, for our full-time job. And this is a have to because we have to pay bills. We need to pay for mortgage and so on. So we usually spend 8 to 11 hours, including commute time before COVID or now. Some companies, they use the commute time as the work time. For some companies, they were generous enough that they just kept employees busy for 8 hours. Can say 8 to 11 hours is a realistic number for working time. And the time that you will rest, the reason that I didn't say sleep is because I even included the time that you relax. So let's say 5 to 8 hours. Five might be very least number for resting time, but some people will be okay with 5 hours. For example, my personality is in a way that I usually sleep 5 to 6 hours every night. Don't worry, I even met a couple of physicians, I talk about it, and they all said that, okay, if your body is okay with that, if your mental health is okay with that, if you don't feel tiredness, if you don't feel sleepiness during work, that's totally fine. Different bodies, they have different responses to different time, resting time. So let's consider resting time 5 to 8 hours. If you sleep more than that, or if you, I don't know, maybe if you sleep 12 hours a day, that's totally fine. Thinking as a life resume, you have a check mark that, okay, you are sleeping 12 hours every day. This is also an experience. I've never experienced more than I think 11 hours, but this is all your life and your personal life. If you are happy with that, if you're happy with 12 hours of sleeping, that's totally okay. So having this timeline, your available time of non-resting and not working will be 11 to 5 hours, in average 8 hours. So you should consider the 8 hours of time that you have every day to spend on food and I don't know, I mean, I'm eating and housework and socializing and so on. So consider that 8 hours is a lot of time per day. If you set your goals, for example, 1 hour joining this talk or 2 hours going to, I don't know, a coffee chat with your friends, or I don't know, 1 hour playing tennis or something else, you should see that, okay, this is not a big ask from yourself that, okay, out of these 8 hours, I'm gonna spend, I don't know, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, a couple of time, a couple of minutes on something that I really like to do. So moving forward, the 40 hours, the spare time or available time, spare time that you have per week will be 40 hours plus, I consider 10 hours per weekend. Because in weekend, you don't work, but consider that, okay, you have 10 hours. It's 60 hours for the time that you have in a week. And if you calculate it for a year, it will be 130 days, 3,000 hours. So if today you think about something which is your dream, I don't know, running your own startup, renovating your home by your own, something that you always had in your mind that, okay, let's do it tomorrow, and never that tomorrow happens. let's do it next year. That next year never happens. So if you think about it, that, okay, you are given 130 days from today until next year. So let's achieve my goal. Let's make it happen. Let's plan for that to next year at the same time. You can say, okay, I spent 130 days on blah, blah, and I could make this happen. So think about it in this way, be perseverant on that, and try to plan for that to have a check mark on your life resume for that. In order to do that, the first thing is that you should set your goals. You should have a clear objective. You want to achieve something, you want to accomplish something, you should commit to it. I wanted to learn Santour, I committed to it. Okay, this is actually something to add. My goal for Santour was that I wanted to play for myself that I can enjoy. So when I achieved my goal, I had a check mark on my life resume. After that, I didn't push myself to move to the next step. That was for Santour. Maybe for something else, for another plan that I had in my life, I pushed myself to jump to the next stage, until some stage that I can say, okay, this is good enough. So let's park at this stage. Let's stop. So you should set your objectives. You should know which destination you are going to move forward based on what you have in mind. When is the end point? What is the exit plan? What is something which makes you happy to say that, okay, I have done that? And you can talk about it either with yourself or with your friends or with your group that, okay, I had this goal last year and now it's time to publish it, to announce it, to just talk about it with anyone. For your goals, this is something, again, it's not my words. This is something which is proven by other people, that goals should be smart. I learned it from Joe Owen in a book that he talks about. He has a lot of books. The one that I read is about how to be a good lead or how to lead projects. So the goals that you can set should follow a smart pattern. Smart goals means that it should have these metrics that I will talk about them one by one. The first thing is that your goal should be specific. For example, my goal was not that, okay, I want to, I don't know, play, I want to be an artist. That was not my goal. My goal was that, okay, I want to play Santour for myself. That was very specific. That, okay, this is something that I'm gonna achieve. This is well-defined. The goal is clear, that I myself can understand my goal in a very clear way. Your goal should be measurable. It means that you should try to have some measures, some specific criteria that you can measure the progress of your goal. I wanted to, again, the reason that I'm referring to Santour, because for Santour, I exactly follow the smart pattern. The goal was measurable. I knew that, okay, when I find the instructor for Santour, he told me that, okay, for next week, for example, in a month, you should be able to get the sticks of Santour in the right way. Your left hand, since I'm right-handed, your left hand should be as strong as your right hand. The next, for example, measurement was, okay, you should be able to play this song by end of next week. You should be able to play a harder song by next 6 months. You should be able to finish the book by end of the year, and so forth. So your goal should be measurable. Either if it's for learning, either if it's for running a business, either if it's for joining a company. Before that, for example, when I was at school, I had a goal that, okay, my goal is to be at, for example, a well-known company, be at Microsoft, or my goal was to get the label of a software engineer at a Canadian-based company, not even US-based company. The goal that you set should be achievable. It should not be something impossible. For example, for example, back to the Santour example, I've never said that, okay, I should play Santour in Shajarian's concert, because I knew that for someone like me who is not supposed to spend.
Mohammad, John, sorry I'm interrupting. I appreciate if we get to these discussions soon, because
Sure.
I'm sure there are a lot of questions and thoughts that people want to share.
For sure. But we have time until 7:30, right?
Yes,
Perfect.
and we want the conversation. We want to bring others into the conversation as well.
Awesome, for sure. Yeah, I think in 5 minutes I will be over. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for reminding me. And back to the next one. Yeah, the goal should be realistic. It should be something that you can achieve it in a specific by a specific definition, and it should be also timely. That you should define the timeline for your goal, the milestone. That okay, based on this milestone, I will achieve this goal. You should know your pace. I put this slide not to convince you that you should be fast, fast, fast. You should try to be like a rabbit, or you should be slow and steady like a turtle. It depends on you. It depends on the goal that you set, and it depends on the path that you have in mind, the vision that you are considering. I think a hybrid approach between rabbit and turtle will help you to achieve your goal, and it depends on case by case. So there is no rule of thumb that okay, you should follow one of these two. Sometimes you need to be fast just to follow the market. That's just to try to achieve your goals more, earlier than your competitors. Sometimes you need to relax and you need to let the system move on and let the system make the decision by them. This is part of a book that I told you that you should always try to value yourself. You should try to protect the values that you have. You should try to understand the values, the talents, the skills that you have, and try to be happy of them. Try to justify yourself that these are the set of skill sets that I have, and I can make a lot of things with this set of skills. There is a nice sentence that I heard at the Sharif University when I was going through some consultations with some expertise on the university, that never ever think about yourself as someone that you cannot do anything in your life, or not try to define barriers for your talents and skills. Think in a way that even a broken watch, this is a famous sentence from someone that I don't know who, but think in a way that even a broken watch shows time correctly twice a day. I mean, a watch that doesn't move the handles shows the correct time twice a day. So think in a way that, okay, you have skills, you have talents, and you can make things by your skills. These are the two books that I was referring here that I really like them. I recommend people to read. The left one is mainly regarding personalities, regarding happier life. The whole point is that don't consider that, okay, the life is full of positiveness. I should be a positive person to be happy. No, you should try to accept challenges. You should try to solve problems to be happy. And the next one is also related to time management. And yeah, thank you, and thanks TikTok YVR for listening to my presentation. I'm here for questions and discussion.
Awesome, thank you. Do you want to keep the screen on, or do you want?
No, I can stop it.
Okay, awesome. Let's do our group shot. Thanks for inspiring us with your talk. Let's do our group photo. For those who want to be in the photo, please turn your cameras on. I'm gonna count 3, 2, and 1. All right, so who wants to go first? There's a lot to unpack. And Mohammad, you can also ask questions to the audience.
Sure. Let's first they ask questions.
Hi, Mohammad. Thank you for a great presentation and
My
great
pleasure.
information. I like the fact that you go after the checklist. That's what we check first for the quality. And that's the way to get things done. But one thing that I learned over time was that when I set the goals and I want to achieve them, and you got to it at the end of your presentation, the pace, make sure you evaluate how much you can achieve and be within that range. Or if you want to go 17 hours a day, 16 hours a day on something to achieve it, make sure that you don't put yourself on the edge of, dropping. I don't know how many of you have been overstressed over the work, something that has to be done. when the job gets longer than, a month or so, it takes a toll on you. So I just wanted to discuss that with the team.
That's a great point to mention. This is something, again, as I said, it depends on goals. For example, sometimes something are not in your hands. Let me exemplify you. For example, to get my permanent residency or citizenship, I tried my best to make everything working as fast as possible. When I sent my application, before it arrives, I called CIC a lot of times just to make sure that my application was delivered. When it was delivered, every week I had a weekly reminder to call them to make sure if it's on. But at some point, it was not in my hand. And I noticed, okay, on that time, in order for myself to be happier, it's better if I let the system move forward. If I stay like a turtle and try to see what happens. I mean, that was a hybrid approach. To submit the application, I was like a rabbit, try to make all the requirements ready, submit my application. And after that, at the very beginning, mistakenly, I tried to be a rabbit again, but it took me some time to learn that, okay, rabbit style doesn't work. So let's be a turtle style and wait for the system.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. We have Behnam next.
Hello, Mohammad.
Hello.
Sorry, I muted you.
Hello, Mohammad. Thank you so much for the amazing speech, like inspiring. I have a question. So when you set a goal, how you manage to solve them? Do you just go like you're in the middle of a goal and there is another goal that comes to your life? Would you do it step by step, like handle it in parallel, or just finish one and go to the another one?
That's a great question. Most of the time I can say that I make things work in parallel. I have things that, for example, okay, my today's plan, my today's goal, when I woke up in the morning, but I had this goal, this plan since 2 weeks ago. I knew that, okay, I will be presenting today from 6 to 7:30. And there's a soccer activity going on from 7 to 9 to 9:30. So I don't consider barrier that, okay, since today I have a presentation, I do not have time for soccer. It's because every week I have emptied my schedule from 6 to 9 for soccer. And this is great. Okay, I have a presentation 6 to 7:30. It's not a barrier for me to go to the next plan that I have. This is just a very short-term plan, just a day plan. But looking at a longer-term plan, for example, I had EventYab business and the other project came. So my goal was to make EventYab a successful business. When something comes up, when a new goal is coming to my mind, better not to say goal, because when it's goal, it means that I have already done the measurement. When an idea comes to my mind, I try to think about my bandwidth. That can I have a good planning for that work to be done, or can I commit to that work, or this is something that will come to my mind and it will go. To answer your question, yeah, I can say that I always try to plan them in parallel, because I knew that, for example, EventYab will not occupy all the 4 hours every day, 4 hours of mine every day. Or I don't know, for example, Santour will not keep me busy every day to practice it and so on. Depending on the commitment that I have in my mind, I always try to review the next ideas come to my mind before committing to them. So yeah, to answer your question, I look at them in parallel.
Awesome. Before we go to the next question, 2 items. One of them is for Mohammad to give us our takeaway at the end of the session. That's just a reminder for him. You don't have to do it now.
Sure.
And the other is for everyone to make sure that your comments and questions are as brief as you can. We don't want you to butcher it, but just for us to get to cover as many comments and questions as possible. Fatemeh, it's your turn.
Thank you, Mohammad. It was a great talk. I really enjoyed every moment of it. There is one point that I somehow couldn't accept it, and maybe I haven't understand it well. And that was the thing that you mentioned, that let's just have an item to be checked.
Sorry, let's have an item to be checked. Would you please repeat?
Yeah, whenever you wanted to reach to a goal, you said that, okay, let's keep that check mark done. But I think somehow this can be a good motivator to go for different goals. But it's doesn't it interfere with the goal itself? Somehow you might lose some pleasure of that goal that you are aiming for, just to reach to that end point and have that check.
That's a great point that you brought up. Yeah, that was, if I said that was my mistake to rephrase it, to phrase it this way. To rephrase it, I can say that when you reach to the end of your smart plan milestone, and that time you should say, okay, it's checked. For example, back to the travel scenario that I told you, my plan, my smart goal is, okay, I'm gonna travel to blah blah city just to visit the city at this time, and this is the plan. So when I went there, after doing the plan, again, not visiting 100 museums, just 1 or 2 museums as I've already planned for them, then when I visit them, I have a check mark in my life resume that, okay, this is something checked. Yeah, thank you so much for correcting me on that.
All right. Next one will be Setara.
Hi. You were talking about like how you have these check marks. Like you get to the land field, you go travel and you have the check mark. I feel like in a way, I don't know. I feel like if you're gonna go to those cities and like have those experiences and things, or see the land field, like shouldn't there be some thing that you do, some kind of takeaway if you're going to a city? Like museums, I'm not a fan of museums either, but like getting to for me personally, I travel to experience the city and what it's like to live there, see the parts that not all of the tourists go, and that kind of thing. I feel like when you kept saying like just a check mark in my life, I feel like that's it takes away a lot of the experience of that. Like, what did you gain from it? What did you learn? Did you contribute to it? Did you see a different side of it, kind of thing, you know? I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
So something that you should consider is that life is an opportunity to learn and experience, right?
Right, yeah.
When I say check mark in your life resume, definitely it should come with learning. Learning can be something, for example, a failure of a business is also learning. I'd never accept failure of business. Failure of business should be winning of the second business or winning on the third business, or there's no word of winning for business. Failure comes with learning. Okay, you learned how you failed your business. So thinking in a way that, okay, you have check mark because you learned something. You traveled to a city based on what you said. For example, you learned how that city look like for your permanent life, or how that city look like for your vacation. So these are learnings that you can consider as a check mark. That when you went there, okay, you experienced it, you learned something from them, and check mark.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Awesome. I think the next one is Sadaf, which is iPhone still, I guess. Sorry, we have 2 iPhones, and if I message you more than once, I apologize, and I am confused. Sadaf, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So first, thanks, Mohammad. At least it was good to see you after a long time here. And I knew most of them about you, but it was good to hear them again and as a summary. But I just wanted to say, I think your strength is looking at everything as an experience, and you always look at all of your challenges as an experience, and I think you enjoy them. You look at them, you always talk about them in a very funny way, and I like to listen to you when you have challenges. Like, I like you to have challenge, and then I listen to you when you talk about your challenges. So I think, yeah, as I said, your strength is looking at all the barriers of life as a challenge and in a funny way. That's great. And because my phone might die anytime, so I just wanted to say thank you and nice to see you, nice to see everybody. And the other thing, if my phone let me to say, is I agree with two other friends that they challenge you about the things that you said. I just put check marks on something. I'm like you, like I always say, oh, I haven't visited that place, I haven't done that sport or something like that. But sometimes I'm thinking with myself, it's better to just choose and focus on something and get more deep in some subjects, right? So I cannot cover everything. I cannot go everywhere. I cannot do all of the things that I like. But I should find a balance between something that makes me happy and something that, I mean, most of us are very perfectionist. I think that perspective comes from there. So I challenge myself to not be very perfectionist.
Cool. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the nice words, kind words, and also joining this presentation. Yeah, this is true. I mean, just to clarify for everyone, I'm not a perfectionist person based on the personality test that I've taken. Back to the point that, yeah, I always look at my life on that way that I explained. I try to enjoy challenges. Even sometimes when bad things happen to me, I don't label them as bad things. I try to label them as learning curves for me or learning opportunities for me. And again, based on what I said, yeah, the check mark should happen based on your goals. The one that you mentioned is that you said you cannot balance between what you want to achieve, is that try to follow the SMART plan. Define your goals in a way that they are measurable. Try to define them in a way that you have milestone, and be realistic on your goals. So hopefully by following that, you will have something manageable and achievable on your mindset.
Thank you. Sarah had her hand up at some point, but she was,
yeah, I disconnected. Now I connected again.
Okay, your turn.
Thank you for the speech. And I have a question about the time setting. For example, I know the goal, I know the steps, but when it comes to the setting the time for reaching that goal, I have problem. There are lots of open goals that didn't end yet. How do you like have that time measurement and time spending on one thing?
For sure. So yeah, first of all, thank you so much again for joining. There are a couple of techniques that you can make it happen. One simple technique is to write down your goals on a paper, just like all the school or traditional ways. Write down your goals, write down your daily plans, and try to cross them with a pen. So this is a very traditional technique that I heard from some people when I joined some workshops in the past. And the other technique is that try to set some happiness for yourself by a specific timeline. For example, for myself as an extrovert person, I set up, for example, parties for weekends. This is again something that I learned at the University of Calgary in a workshop. That when I set, for example, parties in weekends, something that I really enjoy to attend, it helps me to finish my weekdays in a faster way, enjoy my weekdays in a faster way, just to get to the end of the week, that I can enjoy my weekend. Back to the timeline, when you take yourself serious in your goals, you can manage your time in a better way. For example, when I had a goal for EventYab that I should release EventYab app by, for example, September 2015, I try to sometimes spend my, for example, lunch hours on focusing on EventYab, or decreasing my, for example, sleeping time in a reasonable way to spend more time on my project and so on. These are just the examples that I told you, but there are a couple of techniques that you can manage your time on that way that I can also share with you later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Raphael, your turn.
Thank you for the presentation. It's not actually a question, it's more like just to add into your presentation. It's my first time here. I just like to thank for that, and just saying that is right, everything that you said about time management and projects and things in life and project and skills and keep track on your things and smart. But all of those, just like to point, that are only possible if we take rides of our own lives. Most people just stick to the automatic modes, join big companies and corporates. I myself quit multinational companies and start my own business, because most of the people go to that work, stay in the corporate life, don't like what they do, but continue there. And then I think that's how can I say, your speech was like just to get people awareness about, hey, what do I want to do in my life? So most people spend 10, 15 years doing the same thing and never realize about time management, their own projects, their own things. So I'm just saying that all the skills you said are right, but people need to stay first, let's say, not the passenger of the train, but to be the drivers of the train, you know, and somehow. So it's hard to say, but it's true. We are working in big companies, we're selling our time frame for a money reward, and it's difficult, and many people don't realize that. So I just want to add that. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Rafael, for being here. That was my pleasure, and thanks for adding notes to what I said. That's also a good point. When we don't enjoy what we do, but we have to, like the full-time job that we have, you should think in a way that, is it possible if you change that job or change your 8 hours of day in a way that you can enjoy? Sometimes changing companies help, sometimes changing teams helps, sometimes changing your field of work or your industry helps. If none of these are helpful, there are ways to make yourself happy. I had a presentation at Microsoft about how to start a happy Monday, because every Monday I'm happy to work. One reason is that I look at my team like my close friends, because I made relationship with them. So in weekends, I have a pleasure to meet my close friends at parties. On Mondays, I have a pleasure to meet my work friends at the office. So this is kind of something which helped me to enjoy my work in a way that helps me to spend weekdays faster, consider 8 hours as an enjoyable time, and also think about my goals in a different way. So yeah, there again, for this one, also there are techniques that we should try to enjoy our life as much as we can with whatever solution that we can find.
Awesome. All right. Anybody else wants to jump in? Yes, Amir, the other Amir.
Hi, Mohammad Jan. It's nice to see you and hear your talk. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And yeah, it was awesome. Like I know a lot of different aspects of your being, but you opened a lot more. Thank you so much for that. It's funny that I'm struggling. Like I have been always struggling with this concept that you mentioned, the ideas turning into goals. I cannot do that, man. Like as you know, I have talked about like many ideas, even with yourself.
Yep.
I have a lot of ideas, but I cannot make them into goals. Like as you said that, like you have to see if the idea is worth being a goal, or you have to just think about it enough to disappear. Like most of my ideas disappear at the end of the day. I think they are good ideas at the beginning, but I don't commit to them. Like I don't set goals. Do you have any solution for that?
Sure. So first of all, yeah, thank you so much for the kind words and being here. You made me happy, man. So yeah, you're right. For example, the idea of running your own startup or releasing an app. So you should think about that. What were the barriers that prevented you to release the app idea that you had in mind? Or if you remember, one day we talked about running, for example, a program like Mafia Nights game together. So that was just some crazy ideas. There was no planning on that, no goal and objective set for that. So my recommendation is that just take one of the ideas that didn't achieve in your life, not all of them, because if you look at all of them, you will just change the topic, you will keep yourself busy with something else. Take one of them, the one that you really love to do, the one that you really wanted to achieve, and try to follow a smart plan. Try to make a plan. This is just a plan. There's no commitment that you can say, okay, if I do that from now, I should spend money on that, I should waste, I should focus on that, I should devote my time. Try to make a plan, follow a smart plan, write it down, see what are the barriers that they didn't help you to move forward. And then try to make them a smaller goals. You don't need to think about releasing an app by next year. Maybe you can consider, okay, let me write down a business plan for a crazy idea. App development, app release can be done by someone else, right? Try to make your goal smaller, more achievable, more measurable with a specific timeline. And when that one is checked, it gives you a happiness based on what researchers said, that you solved that problem for yourself. You can get the next problem. Okay, next problem is blah, blah. Let's do another check mark when I do that. So having, or better to say, breaking down your goal into shorter goals, or sorry, smaller goals, help you to have smaller or faster check marks, gives you more energy, more happiness, jump to the next level. So this is my 2 cents for the problem that you talked about. Since I know what the problem is, we have already talked about it, I believe this is my recommendation for you.
All right, thank you so much, man.
You're
Thank you. We talk about more.
Sure, my pleasure.
Awesome. Anyone else wants to jump in the last 9 minutes we have? If not, I'm gonna ask you a tiny question, which may or may not be related to what you talked about. But when you review your journey, like your studies in Iran, then you came here, and then you studied here, you worked here, your startup, you know, all these experiences in different professional and academic environments, what do you think, what did you get from like your immigration experience, like from the professional academic environments here, and what did you bring to them from Iran?
In academic world here, or?
Both academic and professional.
Perfect. This is a hard question, but for academic, yeah, you know what, but let's first say something which is common between the two. In every team that I was in, either in the research team at the University of Calgary or in different teams that I was in different companies, I was always labeled as some kind of motivation or inspiration of the team. The way that I always look at the projects was in a positive way. That, for example, sometimes my manager would say that, oh, we got this project and we do not have resources to do. We have nothing, no documentation and so forth. But I always said, no, this is a great project. So it helps us to grow the team. It helps us to have more visibility towards leadership team. So looking at it this way, or transferring my energy, sharing my energy with others, sharing happiness with others, helps us to achieve, or better to say, come up with challenges in an easier way. What I brought, back to your question, what I brought from my past life before coming to Canada to here was bringing my inspiration and motivation to here. Because the first day that I came to Canada, I hear that here, people are like machines. I mean, they just are trained to go to work, spend 8 hours, go home, the day after go to work. I try to change this culture. I try to look at my work as like my second house, because that's something that I'm living for 8 hours. I try to include the concept of tea time with my team, with other people, other friends in the office, and try to change my environment in a more enjoyable way. Another thing that I brought from my, for example, life in Iran to here was something to not be conservative on accepting challenges. Sometimes people are conservative here because they believe that if they commit to something, they might not make that commitment. But this is something that I'm against of that. I always believe that as long as we can plan for things to do and we can have clear communication with project owners, with requesters, we can make that commitment. If there's a project requires to be done in 4 weeks, okay, with this number of resources, we can make it in 8 weeks. Is it acceptable or not? If it's not, okay, is it possible to deprioritize the current work and prioritize this work with the number of resources or not? If not, is it possible to add more resources to the team to make it in 4 weeks or not? So there are always solutions for problems that can be solved by clear communications with people. So just to make long story short, yeah, I brought my energy and communication skills towards the industries that I always were part of.
Thank you. Last question goes to Behnam, and then we go to our takeaway. And
Sure.
by the way, Mohammad, you have to also send it to me by message. If I appreciate if you do that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Behnam.
Yeah. Hello again. So my question is that, for example, an amazing idea comes to your mind, right? And to do that, you require some knowledge. You require some background knowledge that you need to have. So what would be your decision? Just starting to learn those knowledge and like build up those knowledge to be able to, at the end of the your course, just start building your idea, or just going to someone that has that knowledge and start with that, and I don't know, during the journey just to start learning the knowledge yourself as well?
So it depends on what you want to achieve by that idea. Do you want to be, I mean, this is the first question that you should ask yourself. When you have an idea, by accomplishing that idea, what do you want to get? Do you want to just learn? Do you want to just get credit? Do you want to get cash out of it? What do you want to get to that? So sometimes you have an idea. It's better if you give that idea to someone else, and then that person or that team or that business, that group, they will turn your idea into reality and you will get cash out of it. Or sometimes you have an idea to learn and it doesn't make sense to give it to someone else because you yourself are going to experience it. You yourself are going to learn it. You might lose money, you might lose your time, but you are learning it. So I think, if I understand your question correctly, it's case by case. It really depends on what your idea is and what you want to get from that idea.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, everyone. And what is our takeaway, Mohammad?
For sure. So the takeaway that for me for this presentation is that this is something that I always share with all people that I lead in Microsoft and all the interns that I had in the companies that I worked before. When interns join Microsoft, the first introduction is that you're not here to be to work for the business. You are here for yourself. Think about Microsoft in this way, or any work environment for yourself. So this is something that I share with them, and I like to share with everyone here, that look at your life as an opportunity to learn, to experience, and to enjoy each single moment. If you look at your life in this way, you will be happier and you will have more accomplishments in your life. So having this sentence helps you to have a better direction in your life and go in a way that you can enjoy your life more. So this is my 2 cents and my giveaway for this talk.
Thank you so much. This is amazing, Mohammad Jan. Thanks everyone for coming. This was our biggest meeting. We covered a lot of things. Obviously, we're going to put the recording on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Please join our social media. Mohsen is doing a very awesome job running and helping us. And please also tell your friends about Tech Talk. And our next week's event will be with Ali Kashani, and he's going to talk about a lot of cool stuff that he does. By the way, he got his preparation done for Tech Talk by doing a TED Talk.
Oh, nice.
So keep that in mind. Yeah, he's fully qualified. No offense to Mohammad or anyone else who did the talk, but yeah. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening. The journey continues.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.